Artistic Gamer 7, and welcome back to another speed build here on the channel. This one is going to be called the Old Windenburg Bakery. I sort of was originally going to do like Old Windenburg Royal Bakery, because in my head it was like maybe like a high-end type of bakery, but in the long run, it doesn't actually fit me spelling that out the whole entire way, so I'm just gonna call it just regular Old Windenburg Bakery. Now, that being said, you're probably like a little confused, like you can't have bakeries in The Sims or anything like that. I mean, you technically sort of could, but it'd be more of like making them a certain way, but the reason why I'm calling it the Old Windenburg Bakery is because in my mind, this was once a bakery and no longer is a bakery. So basically, I came across a build that it looks more like older type buildings that you see a lot in fantasy type video games. So I was going based more on that, and I really wanted to try something like the build that I seen and having like this open area almost in the middle of the house, sort of. So basically, in my mind, this once was a bakery back when there was like more of like royal kings and queens and that sort of stuff, and Windenburg to me gives the biggest feel of like at one point in time probably was set back more in them, and it also doesn't look like it's like modernized quite as much as a lot of the other towns. It still kept a lot of its old charm, so I thought that this build would fit perfect in Windenburg. If you decide to download it, obviously you do not have to put it in Windenburg, especially if you don't have Windenburg as a town. Now, of course, when it comes to the items and stuff that I use from packs, I admit I half of the time don't pay attention to which packs I'm using, but you can always click on the little thing to see, like, well, like, it'll tell you what packs I use, and you can also click on the individual packs to see what items from those packs are actually in there, so you don't have to worry about it too much and stuff like that if it's not like a whole lot of items from one particular pack. But yeah, so this basically is meant to be like, at one point in time it was a bakery back in the day. So there's this open area that you walked into, and inside was a bunch of different bakeries and had different sections. You know, one would probably do like your normal loaves of bread, maybe one had dessert, like stuff like that. Basically anything dealing with breads and all that stuff. But down around in the bottom near that middle area, you'll eventually see me put 4 large windows, and then the rest of the windows around the building are not as large. And I did that because I was imagining that if this was a bakery at one point in time, they probably had an open window. It wasn't even necessarily like a full-on window, it's just an open area that had like a little thing that, you know, they set stuff on, and people would come in and actually pay through that section and grab their bread and all that stuff, like, you know, come and pick up whatever they were wanting from that particular place in through those. And the people that have come through to try to semi-redo this place put those big giant windows instead of the leaving those completely open, because I decided that I wanted this to be more like someone bought this place and they wanted to keep some of the charm and some of the old stuff about it, but they also wanted to turn it into their home. So it is, even the windows that are chosen, they still sort of fit with the feel. Like, they're a little bit newer. They're probably, you know, they're probably the old windows that were there. Probably were a little bit run down and stuff, but they bought new ones but still try to keep with the feel. That's sort of what I did through the whole entire thing. And I also wanted some things to look like maybe they reused some of the wood. So, like, maybe instead of, like, stone or the wood that was maybe originally on the house or something, like, some of it was able to be reused, but not necessarily all of it. So I envisioned some of the sections, maybe you can see which ones here and there I chose to do that with, but some of the, like, flooring or, like, some of the objects that I chose and things like that looks like it slightly has like an older wood on it. So that was just me sort of imagining maybe they actually reused some of the wood that they couldn't necessarily keep where it was originally, but they could use pieces of it. And like even as part of like some of the artworks, there's actually one picture that I use. I think I put it in the main entry room that actually looks like it's a picture from I can't remember when I picked it if it came from Get Together, which is where Windenburg came from. I cannot remember if it was from Get Together or not, but it definitely looks like Windenburg, but set further back in the day. So in my mind, I was pretending like maybe that was like when the bakery, probably not when the bakery's open, because I think the people that are in the picture don't look like they're like really long back there, but maybe like, you know, when the bakery was like at its high point, or maybe, you know, later on when it was still going, like a picture of like the bakery in the area or something like that. That's sort of what I was pretending it to be, and that's what I went with. But yeah, this is now a home, so but it's definitely a very strange layout. It was very hard to fool with, but at the same time I really love the layout. But it was definitely a challenge to a certain degree, because the picture, I wanted this to look like this picture that I had. It wasn't even a real house. It literally is like a house that either was just designed for a video game, or someone trying to go for a video game style, or actually from like a design before being put into the world of something for a video game. So, you know, it's definitely got more of that fantasy video game feel, this house, but I wanted to try to look it. And the way it looked like it was a pretty tall house. And so that gave me quite a few rooms to work with. And also still trying to keep in mind that at one point this was a bakery. So it was like a lot of things going through my head as I was doing this. And it's almost sort of hard to explain. This is probably one of the builds that I put extremely a lot of thought in as doing it compared to some of the others. Some of the others I have like a scheme or an idea or a picture that I'm going up based off of, and then I sort of do that, but then I just go with the flow. Like, as things come to me, I just do it. But with this one, I was actually trying to think about it. Like, constantly bring it back to the fact that at one point this was a bakery, but it is now a house. So, and like the floors in this particular room, if you can pay attention, those floors to me, you know, they look a little bit older. So that's some of me talking about earlier where it had some of the old recycled wood. That's where it would come into play. Maybe that flooring even was the original flooring. But as in terms of the layout, trying to imagine like certain rooms that were kitchens and storage rooms and like, you know, maybe like bathrooms or meeting places for the employees who worked there. Obviously, since this was a bakery, there probably would have been multiple kitchens. There was probably some that customers would seen and had easier access to, like where the big giant windows are, but I would imagine that they would probably also have some that were on the upper floors just to be baking some of the stuff to keep up, because I was imagining, since I originally said I was going with Royal Bakery, that there was a lot of business at this bakery. Like at one point it was extremely busy. It had a lot of people coming to it of all areas. It had royal members and other people coming to basically, you know, buy their breads and their like little cakes and different things like that. So they probably had multiple kitchen layers, multiple storage areas. Honestly, I was thinking that there probably wasn't as many bathrooms in the bakery as what I now have. The tower section is where I ended up putting the bathrooms. Literally on each level, the tower section is a bathroom. But to me, I would imagine that some sort of ingredient was probably stored in those different rooms and in that tower section of this build. So, you know, there was some things where I was like, I would imagine that, you know, they did make changes. They're trying to make it new, but also keep some of the old charm. And that's what I tried. That was where some of the things was a struggle, but I really did try to keep up with, like, having slightly older stoves. Like, maybe those were stoves that maybe at one point used to be part of the bakery. Like, maybe some of the newer stoves that they had that still worked. Or maybe they just bought those stoves because they had that older feel to them and they wanted to try to keep it with that feel. Because to me, I was thinking, like, yeah, maybe, this obviously is a house, but I could have picture that, since this was an old bakery, this is probably, like, marked on, like, some sort of thing that, at one point this was a bakery and now it's been restored as a house. They probably have people, sometimes maybe, I could imagine if you have, like, an old building and you actually refurbish it into a home, that people would want to know, like, and look at it and see it and maybe wonder, curious about how things are now. And maybe just even for their close friends and family, they still wanted to keep it in touch with its old roots, just to keep that sort of feel, and like anyone who comes in sort of can see some of the bakery stuff. There's the picture that I was talking about, though. But so yeah, it was just, my brain basically was going like literally everywhere. There was some points that I was like, not sure what I'm gonna do here, but I gotta somehow tie it back into the other things. So like I was all over the place. Like I wanted it to look nice and like well done, but at the same time I was like, I want it to have some old charm. I want to make sure that, there's just all this stuff going through my head. Ultimately, I really loved how it turned out, and I'm excited to add it to my world. Some of my builds, as I'm building them, or even before I start them, I have a feeling at least one sim, like I know one sim I might be moving into there. Obviously, because some of my sims, I don't know where their story plots are going. I don't know if what other sims might be moving in with them, but I at least have an idea of like one sim that's moving in. But in this case, I have no plans. And as you see, I'm doing like signs here because I was imagining like, not a bakery anymore, but maybe they have some of the old signs and they fixed them up and kept them hanging on there just for the historical value of it. But yeah, I found this that had like a little old Windenburg looking like building, and I was like, yes, change it to that. That looks better. But anyway, like I was saying, wait, what was I saying? This is what happens. I start talking and then I distract myself and then forget what I was actually saying. Oh yeah, about Sims and moving and stuff. I don't know which sim I'll have move into this house or whatever, but I'm really excited to actually put this over in my world. I'm hoping that eventually one of the sims that I actually record a whole lot actually ends up into this house, because I really do really enjoy this house a lot. It was somewhat of a challenge, like I said, the layout. This laundry room, I imagine that it was not a room at all. Like, obviously, this doesn't even have a door technically, but I'm imagining that they actually added a few walls here, used maybe some old posts from the original building and stuff, just to have like a laundry area. I always like including laundry areas in my build. I know not everyone has laundry stuff, or is it laundry day stuff, whatever, that pack. I know not everyone has it, but I really like having washer and dryers. I like that it adds a little bit of extra and a little bit of realism into it. But, so I always like having those. So that's why that's there. And I was trying to figure out a way to fit it in, and I thought it best to be on the main floor. So that's how I added in. That was like one of the things that I imagine that they added those walls in as an addition after they bought this house. Obviously, this bathroom here has like a lot of new fixtures. Like, again, like fixtures and things like that. A lot of them are going to be new. But it's like bringing new with the old was the big theme with this one. And this is the master bathroom, which I think ends up being the only bathroom I show, because like I said, I did put a lot of thought into this build, like a lot of thought, and you can tell, but I've like sped this up a little bit more than I usually do, just because of the fact that I took forever on it, and I'm actually trying to get my videos down to a shorter time frame. And it's going to be still split into two parts. This part doesn't have like a whole lot of longer left on it. The screenshots are going to be in the ending of the next part. But yeah, I tried to cut it down. I always keep the master bedroom like that. I mean, master bathroom. That's the one bathroom that I'm like, I must keep. I do know I have good screenshots of all the other bathrooms, because they all have sort of a same theme, but the color starts changing a little bit on each one of them. But this one was like a gray and black sort of feel that I wanted to go for with this one. And I ended up going with a lot of grays and blacks in the master bedroom as well, which is connected to it. And the master bedroom is actually really hard to get to if, like, you was, like, if this was a real house in real life. But in some ways, for some reason, I don't know why I like doing this. I guess this is maybe me thinking that if this was ever me in the future, I would like it be really hard or, like, more private or something for my master bedroom if I had, like, a family. But I tend to put the master bedroom on a floor by itself, or it's like one of the longest walks to get to. Like, technically you don't probably want to have a really long walk to get to your bedroom, but at the same time, thinking maybe the kids wouldn't want to do a really long walk. So, maybe you can get some privacy there every once in a while. So it is like you have to go in the front door, up the entryway, and then you go up the stairs, through the living room area, through, I think it's a study, then across a little tiny hallway which overgoes that arch entrance to even go in the, like, little courtyard or whatever area. There, it goes over top of that into another hallway. Then you have to go through a door to get to the stairway to come down to the master bedroom. So it's a little bit hard. Like I said, the layout is pretty strange. But I was imagining it, if you take an old building and you're changing it from, like, more of a commercial build to a residential build, your layout isn't going to always mesh very well because you gotta work with the outer structure of the building. Like, obviously you can add on to buildings or take away. Depending on the amount of land there, you can't add completely, and that's sort of what I'm imagining the boundaries in Sims is the amount of land that you own. So therefore, I couldn't extend onwards, so obviously they wouldn't have done that option. And because the fact that there's multiple levels needing structure, you wouldn't really downsize it either to try to fit it. So, and plus it was a little bit funner actually trying to work with that little layout struggle. But yeah, so I would imagine older buildings and ones that wasn't even intended to be residential, you would have strange layouts once you've actually turned it residential. But I think that gives it part of its unique charm. I actually think that's part of the reason why I think I actually like it. Because of the fact that it is a little bit different, it is a little bit unique. Like, this isn't going to be a house that other houses are going to really compare to, because it didn't used to be a house. So, but anyway, I think the video ends at the end of the master bedroom, or as I'm just going into one of the other ones, so I'll explain a little bit of what's going on in the other rooms later. I also did have a few issues with the recording, but that's going to affect the second half, and I will explain that in that half as well. But this one's almost over. I hope you're liking this build so far. Like I said, this is one of my favorite builds I've done. But I hope you're liking it so far. If so, please hit that lovely like button and make sure you're subscribed so you can see part 2 and also any other future builds that I do. Check out the description below for my Sims 4 build playlist so you can go see some of the other builds if you haven't got a chance. Also, a lot of my other Sims 4 playlists are down there as well, so you can go and see those for your viewing pleasure while you wait for part 2 to come out. Part 2 should not come out too far after this one, but it might be a little bit of ways, but we'll see how time goes. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!